Let's all do something good today.
Hey y'all, welcome to Dad Does Dinner. I'm Chase, and tonight we're gonna do some fettuccine Alfredo with spicy shrimp, some roasted green beans with bacon and onions, and some garlic bread with roasted garlic butter. Before I get started, no carb shaming out there. Every time I post something with pasta in it, I get a comment, "Ooh, that's lots of carbs," and it's usually from some guy who's sitting at home eating a bag of Doritos on his couch. Stop it. I'll eat what I want to eat. I mean, you could die from drinking too much water. So I've cleaned up about a pound of green beans, and that's simple to do. Take your green beans, wash them. They come with a little stem on them like this. You pop the stem off of both sides. You could leave those ends on in a French green bean style, but that stem sometimes is a little tough. We take them off. So I'm gonna hit these with a little bit of salt, some olive oil. I'm gonna take my bacon. Easy way to do bacon. I got 3 strips of bacon right here, and I'm just gonna cut it right up with some kitchen shears. All right, and I got my bacon cut up onto 1/2-inch strips. Next, I'm gonna hit it. This is about a 1/2 a red onion that I've chopped. Toss together. We love roasted vegetables around here. We roast cauliflower, broccoli, green beans, carrots. It's a great way to get some flavor into your vegetables. Just season them up. Throw them in the oven on a high heat. When they caramelize a little bit, they are done. Everything's tossed together. A few cracks of black pepper. And now into the oven. 425, 18 to 20 minutes. Once those beans start to get a little color to them and start to shrivel up a little bit, then they're gonna be done. A couple hours ago, I roasted up a head of garlic and let it cool. To roast garlic, trim the top of the garlic so you're just exposing the tops of some of the cloves. Put it on some foil. Drizzle with olive oil. Hit it with just a little bit of kosher salt. And then loosely wrap in the foil. Once loosely wrapped, put in a 350-degree oven for about 40 minutes until it's soft. I've also got a stick of softened butter. Take my roasted garlic, and then you just squeeze it right into the butter. I'm gonna add, about a teaspoon of fresh chopped Italian parsley, and then just stir to combine. If I didn't have salted butter and used a stick of unsalted butter, I would add about 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt to this. Roasted the garlic beforehand makes that garlic really sweet. Makes it easy to mix with the butter. You could do this with raw chopped garlic. That works fine too. That'll give you a stronger garlic flavor. So all that's come together. Was at H-E-B today. They had just baked some French bread, so I picked it up. I'm gonna put 1/2 of this butter on each side of it. Good even coverage. Make sure you spread all the way across. Crust to crust is a must. And then I always have my extra thick and wide Kardashian foil on hand. And I'm gonna put this in the oven with my green beans. One of the great things about this meal is it comes together pretty quickly. Probably make this in 30, 45 minutes. I've got my pasta water on the stove. Always salt your pasta water. You want your pasta water to taste like the sea. 2 tablespoons of salt into my water. Keep that pot covered, it'll boil faster. Here on the stove, over low heat, I'm gonna melt a stick of butter and 1.5 cups of heavy cream. So I want this butter to melt, this cream to warm, and then I'm gonna add my Parmesan cheese to that. Fettuccine Alfredo, of course, has its roots in Italy. And like so many of our great dishes, it was born out of necessity. Around 1920, a chef named Alfredo had a wife who was pregnant, and her stomach was often upset, and she needed something mild to eat. And so her husband, who was a chef, he put together some basically buttered noodles with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Thus, Fettuccine Alfredo was born. Now along come Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbank on their honeymoon in 1927 in Rome, and they run across this little trattoria, and they get served these buttered noodles with cheese. They think it's fabulous. They go back to Hollywood and they say, "Hey folks, this This pasta is great at this Chef Alfredo's restaurant. So the Hollywood elite go there. So as the stars came back to America asking their chefs to recreate this, the history is a little sketchy at this point. So either the American butter and American cheese just wasn't strong enough or creamy enough to create kind of that creamy consistency that made the Alfredo sauce. The chefs decided to start adding cream, or that's just what we do here in America, and started adding cream to it. Became very popular. Olive Garden completely ruined it, and here we are today. Super simple and easy to make. So as the butter melts and the cream starts to warm, I'm gonna grate some fresh nutmeg into here. A little bit of nutmeg, especially if you're using the fresh kind. A little bit goes a long way. And I'm gonna put in just barely, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon. All right, my butter and cream has come together. I'm gonna raise this heat up to just above medium, and I'm gonna bring that to a slight simmer before I add my cheese. Now we are gonna use good Parmigiano Reggiano. Don't skimp on the cheese on this meal. Go with the genuine Parmigiano Reggiano. That comes from a very specific region in Italy. It's the real stuff. And you don't want to end up shaking in a green can of American style Parmesan cheese that doesn't taste as good, doesn't melt as well. Now I'm using some fresh grated Parmigiano Reggiano. I let HEB go ahead and grate this for me. I know they do it fresh without any additives, and they can do it a lot finer than what I can at home. And this helps when I add the cheese to the cream and the butter. It helps it melt better. Once the butter melted, we switch from low to just above medium heat. We're just getting to the level where we want it to simmer. And now I'm going to whisk in 1.5 cups of Parmesan cheese. So I got 1.5 cups of cream, 1.5 cups of Parmesan cheese, a stick of butter. Now if you want to make this lighter, go eat a salad. All right, to this, I'm gonna add about 1 tablespoon of pressed garlic. I'm also gonna add half the zest of a lemon and half the juice of a lemon. What this does, it kind of brightens it up. This is a very rich dish, and this kind of brightens it up and cuts through that richness and gives it a little bit of a freshness. All my cheese is melted very well. I'm gonna turn this down to a very low heat, and it'll start to thicken a bit. So these green beans took right at about 20 minutes. You can see they're just starting to shrivel up, getting a little bit of color to them. The bacon and the onion really smells good with these. I'm just gonna give them a little toss in the pan, and I'm gonna cover those with some foil till we're ready to eat. Stir your sauce frequently. It's starting to thicken up. So after about 6-7 minutes, my sauce looks like it's about the thickness that I want. So I'm gonna put a spoon in, and then run my finger over it. You see how that sauce didn't come together on that spoon? It just kind of stays right where it is. So if I can get you a good view of that. Yeah, just like that. So that tells me it's ready. Oh my gosh. It is so good. That strong Parmesan flavor is perfect. That Parmesan's got a good bit of salt in it, so I didn't add any salt to this. The shrimp that we're gonna do is gonna have a lot of salt and spices on it. So, and then also at the end, I'm gonna top that with a little bit more Parmesan cheese. So I think the salt level is just fine. So I remove it from the heat. I'm gonna cover it. The pasta water is just starting to boil. After I took those green beans out of the oven, I just turned off the oven. I left the bread in there. Since that garlic was already cooked, I don't have to worry about cooking out any kind of raw garlic flavor in that. So that bread's just sitting there nice and warm. And I'm gonna leave it there till we're ready to eat. Into my pot, I added 1 pound of fettuccine. The package on that says it's gonna take 11 to 12 minutes. I'm gonna start checking it at 10. You want your pasta to be just al dente. And now let's get started on the shrimp. Here I've got 1 pound of shrimp that's already been peeled and deveined. I'm gonna turn my skillet onto a medium-high heat. I want that skillet to get good and hot. Now, to my shrimp, I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons of Tony Chacher's Creole seasoning. Lots of flavor and spiciness without a whole lot of heat. So I'm just gonna toss that well into there. My pan's over medium-high heat. I'm using a non-stick skillet for this. I'm I'm gonna add maybe a half a tablespoon of olive oil. And then I'm gonna put in 4 cloves of garlic that I just crushed with the side of my knife and then peeled. We're not gonna eat this garlic. I'm gonna use it to kind of flavor this oil that I went in and to enhance the overall flavor of the shrimp. They go in, you can hear them sizzle. Want that garlic to just get started. So my garlic just started to turn brown. As you can see, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out of the skillet. If I let it go any further, it's gonna become bitter. And I was just trying to infuse that oil with a little bit of that garlic flavor. And now I'm gonna add my shrimp. Now with the shrimp, you're gonna wanna work fast, get them spread out. And these are gonna take, I don't know, a minute per side. Now that the shrimp is going, I'm gonna add the other half of that lemon zest and lemon juice. So this is half a lemon of lemon zest and half a lemon of lemon juice. I'm gonna toss in a little parsley to make me look fancy like I know what I'm doing. The shrimp, you do not want to overcook shrimp. Overcooked shrimp gets tough and rubbery. You always would rather undercook it. It's going to have a little carryover cooking. So this has been about a minute. We're just starting to turn pink. So I'm going to turn all these over. So I got all my shrimp turned over. They have been in for almost 3 minutes. I'm going to add just a little pat of butter to kind of finish them off, and I'm going to remove them from the heat. Get that butter stirred and coated, and then I'll put them in a serving dish. The pasta timer just went off. It's feeling pretty good. After 10 minutes, that's just right. So I'm gonna drain my pasta, pull my bread out of the oven. It looks good. And now I'm gonna stick this under the broiler for just a couple of minutes to get a nice toasty crust on top. This is the quickest way I know of to burn bread. To my drained pasta, I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil and toss that. This will help keep the noodles from sticking together. All right, the bread just started to toast up. Now we are ready to plate. I'll give a shout out to Mike and the crew at One Arm Brewing and Barbecue at San Angelo, Texas. It's a mini micro brewery known for their all-you-can-eat endless sausage platter. It's Wednesday, so that means Mike and the crew are out doing good, helping with the local food bank through their church. Good work, Mike. Keep it up. As we continue to wallow through the muck of all this craziness caused by the coronavirus, keep your head up, keep your spirits high, find gratitude in everything you do. Look for the good in things and do something good for somebody else. We are all plated up. I'm gonna add just another sprinkle of Parmesan cheese. This looks and smells great. All right, let's give it a taste. First, we'll try these green beans. If you like your bacon a little bit crispier, I like mine kind of soft and chewy in this, but you can cut that up a little bit smaller and it'll crisp up a little bit better. So get some bacon, a couple of these green beans. Those green beans still have a good bit of crunch to them, which I like. And they're full of that bacony and onion flavor. A little bit salty combined with that freshness and snap of the roasted green bean. It's really tasty. Now for some fettuccine. You know, if we were all eating together tonight, I would have served this up family style and tossed this all in a big bowl. But since we're gonna be eating at different times tonight, I just tossed my own pasta and a little bit of the sauce, added a few shrimp. Take a bite. That is just dynamite. It is rich and it's creamy. That lemon zest and juice kind of cuts through some of that richness for a little bit of brightness. The shrimp was cooked just right. It's full of flavor, it's well seasoned, and it's got that sweetness of shrimp and then the saltiness and spiciness of that Tony Chashers that we added. Finally, don't want to leave the garlic bread out. I don't think I like any dinner bread better than that garlic bread made with the roasted garlic butter, because that roasted garlic is so sweet. It just complements everything really well. Woo! We are happy with this one. Y'all stay well out there, and we'll see you next time.
Every day's a chance to change somebody else's life.